In a time long after the Great Flood had cleansed the earth, the descendants of Noah thrived in the world. The people had repopulated and increased across the land. Cities rose and civilizations flourished. As the generations passed, the memory of the flood and the teachings of Noah began to fade. The hearts of men grew cold, and the echoes of righteousness that had once resonated through the land were drowned by the clamor of self-indulgence and the allure of worldly pleasures. It was during this time in the ancient land of Arqaf, which was nestled between the vast deserts of modern-day Arabia and the rugged landscapes of Oman, that a people emerged. The sun-drenched plains bore witness to the birth of a tribe known far and wide for their extraordinary size, unmatched strength, and intelligence. They were known as the people of Ad. These giants, whose size was reminiscent of the palm trees they resembled, were artisans of unparalleled skill, and their craft was not born out of necessity, but was a celebration of their strength and ingenuity. Monuments on enormous pillars rose from the mountain peaks, touching the clouds, becoming a testament to the prowess of a people whose hands could shape the very mountains they called home. These colossal craft workers did not limit their endeavors to mountain marvels alone. They constructed fortresses as sanctuaries for people to live securely in. The people of Ad found themselves at the center of admiration, and the intoxicating scent of praise mingled with the desert winds. As the praises poured in and the people of Ad rejoiced in their own magnificence, a subtle darkness began to creep into their hearts. The intoxication of praise transformed their humility into arrogance, and the giants started to view themselves as untouchable demigods. The monuments that were once a testament to their skill now became symbols of their own vanity. In the midst of their newfound arrogance, the people of Ad turned away from the teachings of gratitude and humility that had once guided them, and in their pride they turned to worship idols, forsaking the one true God who had blessed them with their extraordinary gifts. Within the shadows cast by the giants' defiance, a prophet named HUD emerged, chosen by Allah to guide the people of Ad back to the worship of the one true God. HUD, a man of noble stature, stood before the towering people of Ad with a heart ablaze with the passion of truth. The winds carried his words, a call to repentance and a reminder of the one true God who had blessed them with the extraordinary gifts. The people of Ad, trapped in the web of their own arrogance, mocked at the words of HUD. They saw him as a mere mortal, a voice that sought to challenge their very foundation of their self-glorification. But HUD, undeterred, persisted in his mission, weaving tales of the past, reminding the people of the consequences that befell those who strayed from the righteous path. He recounted the stories of Noah and the civilizations that crumbled when they turned away from the divine. HUD spoke not as an adversary, but as a compassionate guide, imploring the giants to reflect upon their actions before the wrath of Allah descended upon them. The giants, whose hearts had hardened by years of indulgence and self-worship, dismissed HUD as a mere fool and branded him as a liar. The people of Ad failed to recognize the pattern ordained by God, the raising of a man from amongst them, a chosen one, tasked with the sacred duty of reminding the people of their Creator. After many years of tireless efforts to guide the people back to the oneness of Allah, HUD, the chosen prophet, one day stood before the people of Ad, his voice resonating like a gentle breeze that sought to dispel the suffocating fog of arrogance. With your remarkable skill and strength, you proudly display your might as you walk with confidence on this earth, HUD stated, his words infused with divine wisdom. However, these blessings have blinded you. You now see yourselves as superior to all who came before, forgetting the temporary nature of life and the deeper purpose of your existence. HUD explained that the monuments they built for the glorification of their own greatness were mere illusions of performance. The true legacy, he emphasized, lay not in the stones and fortresses that would crumble with time, but in the righteousness and humility of the hearts that sought to please the one true God. From the depths of the shadows, Iblis, the master manipulator, observed the unfolding spectacle, recognizing it as a ripe opportunity to exploit the vulnerabilities of the people. Seizing the moment, he assumed the guise of a formidable man from the crowd, imposing and commanding attention. This mysterious figure stepped forward, his voice echoing through the square with a challenging tone as he addressed HUD in this carefully orchestrated performance. "You haven't provided any evidence that you're a chosen prophet of God, so why should we believe you?" he sneered. "Just because you told us to leave our idols doesn't mean we are going to do what you say. We don't believe in you." In an act of defiance, Iblis chose to overturn the narrative that HUD had been preaching. Convinced that his cunning mind would captivate the people and divert those contemplating following HUD's message, he continued, "I'm telling you, our gods are furious with your behavior," his voice echoing through the stone walls. "Your words about them have stirred their anger, and now a curse befalls you. That is why you speak so foolish, similar to the ramblings of a madman. Put an end to your madness, and perhaps the God will grant you forgiveness, allowing clarity to dawn upon you." The people, fueled by the enthusiasm of Iblis's words, cheered, and the growing crowd that had assembled to witness this seemingly gladiatorial exchange of words only fueled more people to speak. "Have you descended upon us to advocate the worship of a solitary deity and to discard the sacred practices handed down by our forefathers?" some said, while others said, "Are you suggesting that our ancestors were misguided and ignorant?" At this pivotal moment, the tribal leader stepped forward, his authoritative voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd, his eyes narrowing at HUD. "Who is more powerful than us in might and power? If this deity you speak of is truly more formidable, then demonstrate this power to us. Show us, here and now, the strength that surpasses our own." HUD, calm yet resolute, gazed upon the assembled multitude and said, "The power I speak of transcends the might and dominion of any mortal. It is a power that resides in the fabric of creation, an authority that shapes destinies and guides hearts. But it is not wielded as a spectacle for the demanding, nor does it manifest to satisfy our desire for immediate validation." Iblis, having sown the seeds of discord and discontent, stealthily withdrew from the scene. The atmosphere, once charged with tension, now brimmed with a heightened sense of anger and turmoil. The people, unknowingly manipulated by Iblis in the guise of the imposing man, found themselves fueled by a newfound resentment. Undeterred, HUD stood tall, his gaze unwavering in the face of their accusations. He spoke with conviction. "I make Allah my witness, and then you, that I'm not going to partake in your practices. I am here to deliver a message of truth, a message that calls for the abandonment of false idols and the worship of the one true God." In the aftermath, HUD withdrew for a moment, seeking solace in prayer and meditation. As he communed with the divine, a solemn message was imparted to him by Allah. With a heavy heart but resolute spirit, HUD returned to the people of Ad, his expression reflecting the weight of the message he carried. "I have been instructed by Allah to convey to you that the path you tread in defiance of His guidance will lead to consequences," HUD proclaimed. "As a sign of His displeasure, the rains will cease and the land will wither. The bountiful fields that once fed your flocks will become barren, and the abundance you once enjoyed will dwindle." True to the divine decree, the skies above the people of Ad soon closed their gates, withholding the life-giving rains. Drought descended upon the once flourishing city, transforming its landscapes into a parched expanse. The vibrant hues of the field faded, replaced by the desolation of dry soil. Over time, the effects of the divine intervention became painfully apparent. The once lush vegetation withered away, and the grass, a source of sustenance for grazing animals, succumbed to the relentless drought. The animals, deprived of their natural fodder, began to weaken and perish, their weakened bodies scattered across the barren land. Despite the tangible effects of the drought and the evident struggles faced by the people of Ad, a steadfast denial echoed through the city. The inhabitants, rather than acknowledging the consequences of their actions, chose to believe that the affliction was a result of their God's displeasure with HUD's message. 3 years passed in this cycle of hardship and denial. The once vibrant city had now become a shadow of its former self, bearing the scars of the prolonged drought. The city elders, along with the tribal leader, swayed by the prevailing sentiment, approached HUD with a demand. "You must leave and never return. Our gods have made it clear that your presence invites the wrath upon us. We cannot endure this suffering any longer." HUD, torn between the love of his people and the obedience to the divine command, grappled with the weight of the decision. "I cannot abandon you. The suffering you endure is a consequence of straying from the path of righteousness. I implore you to reconsider and turn to the one true God for mercy." The people, however, were resolute. "We will not listen to your words any longer. Leave, and the gods will be satisfied, and our suffering will end." Under the vast expanse of the open sky, HUD found a secluded spot to engage in intense prayer once again. In the silence of his heart, he sensed an answer, an assurance that the appointed time for his departure had come. Turning to his followers, he shared the revelation. "The time has come for us to leave this city. The path ahead is one ordained by the Almighty. We must trust in His wisdom and follow the course set before us." The appointed hour arrived, marked by a quiet acceptance amongst HUD and his followers. They left their belongings behind, symbols of a past they were ready to relinquish. As HUD and his followers made their way towards the horizon, the city behind them seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. HUD, a mixture of sorrow and hope weighing on his heart, took one last look before resuming his journey, departing from the land that had resisted the call to righteousness. As HUD and his devoted followers ventured beyond the city gates, a cloak of mystery enveloped the air. Unbeknownst to the forsaken people of Ad left behind within the city walls, an imminent transformation loomed on the horizon. Little did they anticipate that the very sky above them would soon stage an extraordinary spectacle, marking the beginning of an unforeseen chapter in their history. A thick, dark cloud began to form, slowly enveloping the heavens. A hushed excitement swept through the city as the inhabitants looked up, interpreting the gathering of the clouds as a promising sign. The collective belief surged with hope, for the people thought that the gods, now appeased by HUD's departure, had returned their long-awaited rains. As the dark clouds continued its approach, the anticipation grew. Joyful murmurs echoed through the streets as the people eagerly awaited the downpour they believed was imminent. The city, once parched and barren, now buzzed with a newfound sense of life and vitality. In the midst of this jubilation, the people proclaimed their victory. "We were right. HUD was cursed, and as soon as he left, the rains have returned. Our gods are pleased with us again." As the first droplets of rain began to fall, the people looked up, their faces illuminated with delight, as the long-awaited downpour commenced. The rhythmic sound of raindrops on their homes became a symphony of relief, washing away the memories of drought and scarcity. Slowly, a gentle breeze accompanied the rain, carrying with it a cool, refreshing sensation. After years of yearning and hardship, the people rejoiced in the simple joy of feeling raindrops on their faces and witnessing the revival of their once barren land. In the wake of the joyous celebration that had echoed through the city of Ad, the winds, once bearers of relief and renewal, underwent a malevolent transformation. A subtle shift indicated an impending catastrophe. The winds, once gentle, intensified into a powerful force that seemed to gather strength from the depths of the unseen. The skies, once serene, now hinted at a looming storm. The winds transformed into a force of unrestrained fury that morphed into a colossal tornado and swept through the city with a limitless appetite for destruction. The colossal columns holding their monuments on top of the mountaintops became helpless victims to the storm's might. The once sturdy palaces Symbols of prosperity crumbled under the relentless force of the winds. Palaces that had stood as testament to the flourishing civilization were now reduced to rubble, mere fragments of a once thriving society. In the storm's chaos, the once jubilant people found themselves tossed around like palm trees in a relentless storm. Lives were overturned and homes were torn in pieces, the very foundations of their existence shattered by the wrathful winds. For 8 days and 7 nights, the tornado raged unchanged, sparing nothing in its path. Each gust carried the weight of divine retribution. On the final moments of this relentless punishment, the wind swirled with a ferocity that defied nature itself. The people of Ard were wrenched from the earth, twisted and tangled in a ferocious ballet of ruin. They were mercilessly smashed into the unforgiving earth. The echoes of divine proclamation held true. None of the people of Ard lived to boast of their size and strength again. In the aftermath, a city that had once flourished lay desolate, its once grand structures now scattered like leaves in the wake of a storm. The remnants served as a tender testament to the magnitude of the divine punishment that had befallen them. The earth, a silent witness to the unprecedented natural disaster, covered the remnants of this once prosperous civilization. The forgotten people of Ard, once vibrant and proud, became a distant memory, their existence obliterated, as if the winds of divine retribution had swept them away not just from the surface of the earth, but from the pages of time itself.